Welcome everyone to today's episode of In My Shoes as we continue to celebrate Women's History Month. My name is Dana Larson and I will be your guest host today. For those of you who do not know me, I am the National Diversity and Inclusion Specialist at Greenspoon Marder and I'm based out of Miami. I am grateful to be joined by two of our newly promoted female partners today, both of which are not only excelling in their respective fields, but have a second full-time job, parenting. Michele Clancy is a partner practicing residential foreclosure out of our Cypress Creek, Fort Lauderdale office. Michele, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We also have Melissa Groisman, a partner in our real estate practice group, who is based in our downtown Fort Lauderdale office. Melissa, it's great to have you also.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone, as always, that the goal of this In My Shoes series is to open and maintain a meaningful dialogue on a variety of topics, some of which may be sensitive or emotional at times. We ask today and always that each of us remember to be respectful and kind toward each other as we open ourselves up to learn what it is like to walk in someone else's shoes. With that in mind, thank you both for being here as we discuss what it's like to be a dedicated professional and a parent. So basically, you're never off.
Very true.
Let's start with you, Michele. Could you tell us just a little bit about your family?
Sure. I have 3 teenagers. Both my boys had their birthdays this month. So I have an 18-year-old who's a senior in high school. I have a 15-and-a-half-year-old daughter who's a sophomore, and I have a son, my youngest son, whose birthday is today, who turned 14 in 8th grade. So as of the end of the school year, I will officially only have kids in high school and beyond.
Well, that's amazing, and happy birthday to your son.
Thank you.
Melissa, do you want to also tell us a little bit about your family?
Sure. My family is such an important part of my life, and I'm really grateful to have their support. My 2 kids, Ariella and Sammy, are 10 and 8 years old, and they're absolutely wonderful. I've had the chance to bring them to the office, which has been really an excellent opportunity to teach them about my work life and what being a lawyer entails. We also have a golden doodle named Sandy, who believes she's our 3rd child. She's always with us, keeps me company when I work remotely, and she really brings a lot of joy to our family. And lastly, but not least, my amazing husband, Ben Steinfeld. He's been my rock, through my entire legal career, very supportive and understanding, really makes work-life balance possible for me. And we make a great team, and I couldn't imagine navigating the journey without him.
Well, that's great to hear, because I hope and wish that all of us who are professional women in our careers would have a support system like that. And it's also wonderful to hear more about your children and the journeys that you're all on, very different seasons of life, 8 and 10 and all teenagers, but they're all unique and fun in their own ways, I'm sure, and challenging nonetheless.
Yeah.
So Melissa, as we move forward, how have you been able to maintain a work-life balance while still excelling in your field?
Well, finding that work-life balance has definitely been a journey for me. I make sure to set aside quality time for my family, like having dinner together every night and planning adventurous weekend activities. When I'm with them, I try to disconnect from work as much as I can, putting my phone on silent and just being present. I do a better job of it some days than others, but that is always my goal when I'm with them. One thing that has really helped me juggle everything is technology. Remote working has been a game changer, giving me the flexibility to balance professional and personal. I love coming to the office. In fact, I'm here at least 3 times a week, but having the option to work remotely has really made a huge difference. I've also gotten better at time management and delegating tasks at work. with our amazing staff. And that really helps me focus on what's important, both at the office and at home. And when I have a little bit of free time, I try to take care of myself too. Doing exercise, or mostly just, I like to take long walks or enjoy coffee or a glass of wine at night. So that's my work-life balance.
Well, that's great. Self-care is so important. And I know that I neglect my own self-care, and I'm the only person who has to be taken care of. So I can only imagine that, you know, having to take care of your families as well as your practice, it would be difficult to remind yourself to have self-care. But I'm glad that you have your ways of doing that. A walk is always lovely. Michele, how have you been able to maintain a work-life balance?
Well, when I'm at work, I work. I don't take really long lunches. And even when I've been working remotely, it's what I do. When I'm at work, I work. So that when it gets towards the end of the day and I have to change in my mom hat, then I can do that. And I can give my full attention to my kids, their activities, our pets, everything that we have going on with life. I think that multitasking is something that, as you know, if you're going to succeed both professionally and as a mom, is something you over time begin to master and you take things with you. You know, now it's so much easier with the technology where I can bring a laptop, whereas I used to bring stacks of complaints or motions or title or whatever it was I had to review with me. And when I'd be sitting at practice for one of the kids with sports, I'd have a stack of things in the stands and I'd look through them while they were practicing, but I was at least there so I could see how things were going with the coach and things. Now it's much easier where I can just bring a laptop and not stacks of things. But yeah, technology, I would agree with what Melissa had said, is just a game changer. It has made things so much easier. Working at home when one of the kids is sick, I've been practicing over 20 years. So that wasn't something that could happen when my 18-year-old was first sick. When he was sick, I was home and we had no family local. So I missed work. Now you don't, that's not an issue.
One of the questions I was interested in asking is, do you, either of you, feel a sense of guilt on one side or the other when you have to work more and you feel a little bit guilty that you're not with your kids, or maybe when you're with your kids and you're like, I really should be working on this matter, et cetera. Does that ever happen now, or has it happened to you in the past, when they were younger?
I would say when they were younger, it did, especially because of not having all the advantages that we now have for technology and the working remotes where you can, get caught up or be able to attend more of the events. But I do feel very blessed in that I've been able to, I don't look back, especially now that my kids are a little older, and feel like I missed out on a lot. I really haven't. I've been very lucky in that I've been able to find good employer that's allowed me to be there for my kids and my family. It's very rare that we don't have a dinner together. It's very rare that I've ever missed one of their, games, or something that was important to them. So I don't have a lot of regret, thank goodness, but I can see where if you didn't work for the right company, that you could, or bosses too. My bosses are great.
Well, that's great to hear. I love that. Right. Melissa, what about you?
Well, my children are a bit younger. I think my daughter, Ariella, she's 10, and she's a lot more understanding when I have to work at home, when there's spring break or they're homesick. She's understanding and she allows me to work as long as I take a few breaks during the day to spend some time with her. On the other hand, my son, Samuel, he's 8. And he's very sensitive to it still. And I would say he does know how to make me feel guilty. So if I'm working from home for whatever reason and he's home for whatever reason, he can constantly express a need for me to, a desire for me to stop working and, spend time with him. Why can't you watch TV with me? Why can't you, go play with me in the pool? And, so he still doesn't fully get it. I think to overcome that, I actually brought him to the office 2 separate times. and had him help with filing papers and had him meet some of the staff and the other attorneys. And, I'm trying to get him to understand what it is I actually do. And little by little, I think it's helping, and I'm hoping it will get him to the point where he'll be more understanding and flexible when I need to work in front of him or near him.
That's a great idea. Then he gets to see that when you're working on the computer, you're not, on social media or just looking things up on the internet. You're on the computer because you're actually working. And sometimes being in the building where you see everyone is working puts everything into perspective and context. So that's great. I want both of you to think about what you consider to be your greatest achievement, either personally or professionally. And I'm going to start with you, Michele.
So my kids are my life. There's nothing that brings me more joy than my kids, no matter how terrible your day is, no matter what craziness is going on or what nonsense they've done. They make me smile every single day. I've always wanted to be a mom. So that is personally. Professionally, I would say, I think just making it through law school even. I put myself through undergrad, put myself through law school. My mom worked 2 jobs. I had no one reminding me on deadlines or applications or financial aid or doing any of those things. I just figured it all out by myself. And in both cases, I'm from Missouri. And in both cases, I picked up and moved out of state. I moved to Kansas for undergrad, went back to Missouri for a year, and then I picked up and moved to Florida for law school, all by myself, not having any friends going where I was going, and just figuring it out. So I'm proud of that because I don't think a lot of people do that.
You should be. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
Melissa and I the whole time were nodding like, yes, we're happy. That's amazing. So Melissa, I'll turn it over to you. What do you consider to be your greatest achievement, either professionally or personally or both?
Well, that's a tough one. I'm really proud of having made partner here, but I think my greatest achievement is actually finding that sweet spot between being an excellent attorney for my clients and also being a loving and present mother. I mean, being partner is a big deal and I've worked hard for it, but it's not just about the title for me. It means for me that I've been able to navigate the demands of my career and still be there for my kids. Mm-hmm. So I really feel a great sense of accomplishment because of that. And having made partner was a wonderful reminder to me that I have managed to find a way to have a fulfilling career and a happy family life, because I do feel that at this point in time, I've achieved both. So, and I hope it continues that way.
I think that you worded it perfectly. That's a wonderful way to look at your latest achievement and being named partner. That is incredible. What is the most rewarding part and the most challenging part of being a working professional and mother?
I would say that the most rewarding thing about being a working mom is showing my kids through example that it's possible to chase your dreams and still be there for your family. I'm happy that I'm able to show them that you can work hard and be dedicated to what you care about while still taking care of your family and taking care of yourself. I think that's really rewarding that I'm able to set this example for them. And I'm really hopeful and excited to see them grow. And actually, my daughter wants to be an attorney, she says. So that makes me really happy.
I love that. That's great. And all right, so what about the challenging part?
Most challenging, I would say it's adjusting to the unexpected curveballs that life throws at you. When you're a working mom, you have to be ready to adapt quickly when things don't go as planned, like when your kid gets sick or you have an urgent deadline at work. So when you're juggling those unpredictable situations, it can be tough, but I've learned the importance of staying flexible and having a strong support system to lean on. Thank God my parents and my in-laws both live nearby, and I'm able to lean on them for help with the kids, late pickups, things of that nature. So, you have to be creative and keep a positive attitude. And this has really helped me to navigate the ups and downs of being both an attorney and a parent.
Yeah, creativity. I can only imagine how creative you have to be. All right, Michele. So the most rewarding part and the most challenging part of being a working professional and mom.
So I love setting a good example for my kids, letting them know that, you can accomplish anything with hard work, and just showing them that you can do whatever you put your mind to, as long as you're willing to put in, the time and the effort. I tell my kids all the time that you're only restricted by the limitations that you give yourself, and look for the solutions, not the obstacles. So when they find a way that, something that's not working for them, instead of saying that you can't do this because, look for the way around that and what you can do differently to still accomplish your goal. So I think I live that in my life. So I'm setting the example for them to do that. As far as the challenging, I am terrible at saying no. I have a really hard time without taking on too much, both professionally and personally. I am not a super big disciplinarian. So I think it's really challenging. We are human. We have limitations. There are only so many hours in the day. And, being realistic with that is something that I really struggle with, because I try often to get way too much accomplished, I think. I think I would have things a little easier and less stress in my life if I said no more often, but I don't.
But the great part is it seems that both of you are really motivated by your children in a very genuine way. And that is really special for me to see. My mom was a single mom growing up, who, also had a special needs child, and she's my hero to this day. She's, incredible. And she gave up her career for us. And so, I'm so thankful for that, but I want to have a career and children someday. So it's wonderful to see an example, let alone 2, 3, and 4 examples of that with our newly promoted partners this year at Greenspoon Marder, all being working moms. And that's wonderful. I just wanted to ask one final question that wasn't given to you in advance, so feel free to take a second and think about it. But I was looking over some statistics, and McKinsey and Company kind of has been talking through some of their reports recently about the setbacks that COVID-19 has put on women in the workforce. And one of the things that they said in a recent report in 2020 was that the COVID-19 crisis has driven as many as 2 million women, particularly mothers with young children, to consider leaving the workforce or stepping back from their careers, at least temporarily. And so I wanted to ask, how did COVID affect you, and how did you get through that time managing the new way of life that we all had to adjust to without losing your careers?
The most challenging part of COVID with work was the fact that I had 3 kids here doing school while I was trying to work. And that was very, very difficult, because I became, essentially, it was, yes, they had their classes online, but it was mostly me trying to micromanage them in their classes, keep them on task, while at the same time trying to work. And I found that to be very difficult. Also, my department took, with being in financial services, representing banks and servicers, it was really difficult. Almost every state had a moratorium in place, and we mainly do foreclosures. So the whole department came to a screeching halt. So no new cases, not advancing cases. So, that was really difficult. Thank gosh that we're part of such a, big firm. We're in a lot of different states. So the moratoriums were lifted at different times, and we were able to start working on, certain files in certain states and things. But it was difficult, both professionally and, personally with everyone here.
Well, I hear the part of the common theme is that Greenspoon Marder has been extremely helpful and supportive of both of you, not only in your careers, but as mothers and parents. And I think that's a common theme that I've heard from many people at Greenspoon Marder. And I'm glad that both of you have felt so supported in your profession as well as mothers, because that is extraordinarily important. And that makes me feel very happy to continue to work for Greenspoon, and that we get to have lovely women like yourselves who are wonderful examples, not only to your children, but to all of us about how we can persevere through pretty much anything.
Sure.
Well, thank you again, both of you, for being with me today. And our In My Shoes series is lucky to have both of you and all the speakers that we've had so far. We look forward to seeing all of you next time.